Yo, what's going on, everybody? So I went live on Bleacher Report Monday morning around 11 a.m. discussing what the Eagles should do moving forward as free agency is right upon us here. There might be a name or two that is no longer relevant due to a tag, but the majority and the basic concepts here of what we're talking about doesn't get ruined by that whatsoever. So I just want to throw that and sprinkle that in there prior to everything beginning. And also, look, if you're looking forward to Coffee with Brodes returning March 28th, it's March now, baby. So get yourself joined here on the YouTube membership, Brodes Media, $4.99 a month, Monday and Thursdays, 11 a.m. Coffee with Brodes. It's coming back. And the Discord channel, too. That's already active. Check out all the information down below and enjoy the show.
Brodes Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Bleacher Report Live, and we are not far away from Howie Roseman season. Remember the ski mask? Who was it? Cravon LeBlanc. Was it Cravon LeBlanc who put on the ski mask, and we had hashtag Howie season trending on Twitter? Well, it's about that time, and damn it, there is a lot that needs to be done, so I can't wait to see what Howie Roseman does. And let's take a look at some of the potential free agents and my predictions on what they target. So let's start on the defensive side of the football, because there is no doubt about it that that's where the most emphasis needs to go. And Vic Fangio is going to walk into that office and say, yo, Howie, listen to me right now. Okay, listen to me. I ain't working with that slop. That crap you tried to pull last season, that crap you gave Sean Desai, the garbage that was with Matt Patricia, I'm not dealing with it. Let's go look at linebacker. Let's go look at safety play. James Bradbury won't work. Now, obviously, I'm being facetious here. I have no idea if he's going to do that, but I'd imagine the reason why you bring in Vic Fangio is because you respect his thought process. You know he's very intelligent, and if that's the case, you have to listen to what he brings to the table. You have to actually hear some of his thoughts because, well, he has a plan, and if you want his plan to be executed properly, then guess what? Linebacker needs to be addressed. Safety needs to be addressed. And I'd imagine that we are now in a position where Howie Roseman understands because, well, if he doesn't, we have a huge issue because I don't know what else you need to see until you recognize that we need to definitely reshape and rebrand how we attack our defense. We need to improve over the middle of the field because teams are exposing us at will. And not even the good teams, may I add. The most pathetic squads with very average to below average quarterback play, with average, below average tight ends, let alone what happens when it's a beast, when it's a magnificent tight end. I mean, it's crazy. So before we go into things here, I'm going to now make our Bleacher Report poll active in the chat. What is the most important position for Howie to look at in free agency in your eyes? And here are the four options: linebacker, safety, corner, and running back. Keep in mind, they love their young corners. They love what Ringo could be. They love having Isaiah Rodgers just chilling on the back end from snagging him due to the whole situation of gambling in Indianapolis. But there's no way that they keep Bradbury, right? So keep in mind that there's that with the corner. And I don't know what the deal is with Devontae Maddox because that kid can't stay healthy. When he's available and on the field, yeah, he brings something that I love. He does have an edge. But in what world am I supposed to rely on him to be healthy? If Howie Roseman does, that would be a disgrace because by week 5, week 6, when he's out with an ankle or when he's out with a shoulder problem and he misses 6 or 7 weeks, this isn't a, oh, wow, that's unfortunate. No. I could have told you this 7 months ago, Howie, that this was going to happen. So keep in mind, with the slot position, there's something to monitor too. Or your final option in the poll is running back because right now, when DeAndre Swift leaves, you really don't have much. There's really nothing there, although there are some sexy names available. So let's begin with safety because there are two names that I'm looking at here, and one played for Vic Fangio last year in Deshaun Elliott, which would absolutely tickle my fancy. But how about this one? And this might spark a nerve with Philadelphia fans, but C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And if you forget, after he left here, he was on Twitch one day, I think, or he was on one of those platforms playing video games, and he was talking to the chat, and he was asked about his time here in Philadelphia and to describe what it was like. And he was saying some F-bombs and taking shots at us, saying we're the most obnoxious people in the world. He did not like his time here with some of the fans, things along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but if you make those comments and you make those claims, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to win the fans back over, especially when he was here for such a short amount of time and then he leaves to go to Detroit and, he was talking smack for a little bit. Now, he ended up getting injured and did return, but I'll tell you what, he was a ball hawk. All right, he grabbed interceptions left and right. He created turnovers and put the offense in magnificent positions because you're flipping the field. Now your offense can work at the other team's 37 instead of a punt, and now you have to force this very struggling offense to go 86 yards. Now, it shouldn't have been as problematic as it was. So come on now, offense. Come on now, Vic Fangio. Kellen Moore. All right, we need a big-time improvement from the Brian Johnson debacle, but it is so much nicer, so much sweeter. Even the best quarterbacks in the entire damn planet, Tom Brady, would be salivating out of his mouth to know that he can start going to work at the other team's 27 compared to the damn your own 15, right? So whether you're the best quarterback in the world or a struggling offense, it's beautiful stuff. So how about we bring in C.J. Gardner-Johnson? And I wouldn't be surprised if Howie goes back to that well, because you know what he's like. You had that relationship and all, and there's a familiarity kind of, but you could say the same thing with Deshaun Elliott, with Vic Fangio. It wouldn't be as noisy. The C.J. Gardner-Johnson one will absolutely create more drama, create more talking points. But if you think that he could be better than Elliott, then by all means, you have to go out there and do it. And I think I would. I could put behind. See, I definitely complain about A.J. Brown talking a lot, or in his case, not talking a lot, when he had to deal with the debacle of the press conference in front of his locker and the paparazzi because he was quiet after the losing streak began. And Darius Slay's always running his mouth, but I'm very consistent with this. If you ball, if you could play, Darius Slay's good. I know a lot of this fan base believes he isn't for some reason. I think the reason is his relationship with the fans, and he's always yapping, he's always talking, he's always quote tweeting Pro Football Focus after the team gets crushed by 35 points defending himself, which rubs people the wrong way, and I agree. It is annoying as hell. But if you are the talent of A.J. Brown, if you are the talent of Darius Slay, then I can live with it, even though I will complain about it. That's just how I operate. I'm not saying I'm not flawed. So with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, if he is going to come with baggage, and he is going to come with a lot because of what happened when he was once here, I could live with it if I know that he is making unbelievable plays defensively, picking the ball off, having a bunch of interceptions, and bringing an attitude and a swag that this defense desperately needs. So if I'm projecting out, I would not be surprised if there really are some serious discussions in a reunion behind C.J. Gardner-Johnson being here. And that excites me. It does. I know it's going to come with some talking points, but that's okay because I watched what he was capable of doing the year they went to the Super Bowl, and they are so desperate at the safety position too. Not a big Reed Blankenship guy, and Sidney Brown's just so super young, and maybe someone like Reed Blankenship looks different, feels different if there's someone next to him and a partner that you could have way more faith in, so there's not as much pressure on a Reed Blankenship, and he's not the emphasis, he's not the number one, he's not the guy back there at safety. It makes it easier for him when there's spectacular talent next to him, and then I feel differently, and I'm not ruling that out by any means, but I don't think that you have a winning pedigree back in your DB room, your back safeties there. I don't think that it is beneficial to run it with a Sidney Brown and a Reed Blankenship. So one of those two names is sort of where I'm thinking Howie Roseman goes for the safety department as we look ahead here. So how about linebacker? Well, Van Ginkel is the one that I think makes the most sense, once again, because of Vic Fangio. And there is some versatility in the mix, whether it's inside linebacker, whether there's some edge rushing going on. He finished the year with just under 70 tackles. He was able to turn the ball over with an interception in there, had 6 sacks. I think when you come up of a year like he had with Miami and you can play with someone that you understand, someone that you have respect for, and someone that you had a good season under in Vic Fangio, then yeah, why not? Especially in an area that you are so desperate in. It's not like, okay, so I might not agree with Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown, but see, I don't know. Am I talking myself into them actually being better than I think they are? My overall point here is linebackers so thin that it's disgustingly pathetic and unacceptable. Is it unacceptable to run it with Reed and Sidney Brown? Yeah, I do, but not as unacceptable, if that makes sense. That's how bad linebacker is. I mean, that's just how bad linebacker is, that when you compare it to Reed and Sidney Brown, then it looks like you're 7,000 steps behind, because Reed and Sidney Brown is not something that I love at all. But when you compare it to linebacker, it's that bad, if that makes sense. But your linebacking core is so pathetic, and it's so vomit-worthy that getting a Van Ginkel, I mean, I think that makes the most sense in the world. Ideally, I like the name Patrick Queen. I think we all do. But one of those two guys, Nakobe Dean, what is Nakobe Dean? This will be my 1,000th time bringing up that the kid can't stay healthy. And even when he is healthy, I have no idea what he is. And while you want to play the young kids, and that's what Howie Roseman stated not too long ago when he had that press conference in Indianapolis at the NFL Combine, I told Nick Sirianni that we got to start playing the young kids. It's okay. While Nick Sirianni on the other side is going, well, I'm going to play the guys that are going to help us try and win, no matter if they're old, no matter if they're in the middle of their career or they're very early on in the beginning stages. I'm playing these shots, and I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. Do we have people on the different pages here, on wrong pages, on different sides? Because Howie's trying to show his worth with some of his draft picks, and Nick Sirianni's trying to coach for his damn job. And he's trying to stay alive and not get fired and not get canned. So he's trying to save his job. And yet the general manager is like, hey, we got to start playing young kids more, which scares me because I don't want to. I just don't want to. I do if they're fantastic. I want to see Jalen Carter thrive. I want Jordan Davis to take that next step. I want some of these young kids to blossom. But my point is, if there's so many holes and you're filling all those holes with just young kids, well, then I hate to break it to you, you're not going to win a Super Bowl next year. In my eyes, I want to win a damn trophy. I want to go back and win a Lombard. I'm hungry. I got the quarterback on the big contract. I got AJ. I got Devontae. I got Goddard. I got a lot of pieces here. I'm trying to win, right? I mean, this isn't a step back season. This isn't a take a step back and wait and see what happens, and we're kind of retooling this thing. No, it is not a retool, but it's a regather. It's a regather, but you still have to apply the pressure and be a competitive team throughout that, okay? I mean, that's just reality of the situation. You bring in Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore over Sean Desai and Brian Johnson. Why? Not to get worse. You didn't need to get worse. You need to get better and improve. And your defense was so bad last year that going from where you were to, middle of the pack? I mean, can you thrive if Kellen Moore fixes the offense so your offense is moving the chains and putting up points? And he's Dallas Cowboys version of Kellen Moore with phenomenal statistics, picking up the blitz. And then Vic Fangio is a solid D, a very solid defense, and middle of the road, maybe a top 13 or so. Could he be 13th in the league style defense? If you get some respectful names in here, is that good enough to go compete? I think so. In this league, you go shove 40 points down the other team's throat, go score 35 plus points. And if your defense gives up 28, you can be all right because you're scoring at will. And I'm just fascinated on this whole where do they go in free agency thing, knowing they want to play a lot of young kids, and a linebacker, Patrick Queen, Van Ginkel, they're available, and they're obsessed with Nakobe Dean. Well, you better not miss out on these opportunities to go get some of these guys. And I will absolutely say that I believe Van Ginkel is a possibility. I do. I think because of the relationship with Vic Fangio, that is a possibility. Eddie Jackson, remember that name maybe about 2 weeks ago or so? Remember that name as if we forget who Eddie Jackson is. But in regards to safety, The reason why that doesn't tickle my fancy too much, and this might sound hypocritical because I didn't want young, and then here I am going, well, I don't want old. I don't want Eddie Jackson old. I feel like we've done that. The Byards of the world, the Shaq Leonards of the world. Is Eddie Jackson a version of that? Probably. So really, I would like to find someone in between those two respected sides, whether it's super young and not that much experience, or it's this dude had a nice run, his name once popped, but there's not a lot of juice anymore. You already squeezed all the juice out of him. So we can't go desperate mode and just find a name that sounds better than the actual production, because that was Kevin Byard, who's no longer here. That was Shaq Leonard, who was really nothing. He was a no burger. He was a nothing burger. He had nothing left in that tank. So we have to find someone in between that, and that's CJ Gardner-Johnson in my eyes, right? Like, that's somebody who I think that could be. So to kind of put the bow on the safety position. Defensive end, okay? We know they love their bread and butter. We know they love the trenches. We know they love to get after the quarterback. Just a few names here. There was a time where Brian Burns and the Carolina Panthers, and hey, they could get first-round draft picks out the ass. They could get so much assets and this and that, and now it's all up in the air. What a dysfunctional franchise they are. But Chase Young, do these names do anything for you? I mean, they do something for me. Yes. I don't think Brandon Graham has a lot left in the tank. They didn't get to the quarterback enough. I have no idea where Howie Roseman goes with Hassan Reddick. There's rumors that the Dallas Cowboys want him. And I swear to God, Howie, if you pick up that phone with Jerry Jones and make that happen, you better believe that he's got nothing left. And by the way, he has something left. He does. He's got a lot left. And that's why I believe that there's people absolutely trying their very best to see what it will take to get him to their organization, and what it would take Howie Roseman to say, yes, we will do it. Let's sign on the dotted lines and we'll send him to your town very shortly. He'll be on a plane in the next 24 hours. So, hey, you better not send him to Dallas and have him and Micah Parsons lined up just rocking Jalen Hurts and putting him into the ground nonstop, because I'd cry. And I think that's ridiculous. But I would love to get one of these names, because I don't know what Josh Sweat did. They played so many snaps last year. How many times do we discuss that they're getting tired, they're getting fatigued, they're hitting a wall? They played so many snaps compared to what they've once done in their career. Well, if you could bring in a name like that, one of these two names, I mean, sign me up. I like that. I don't think they do. That's not one. Like, I think that CJ Gardner-Johnson is in play here. I think Van Ginkel is in play here. I think Elliott for safety is in play here. Not CJ Gardner-Johnson and Deshaun Elliott, maybe one of those two. But those, I think, are reasonable and actually in their grasp. The Brian Burns, Chase Young thing, while it fits the category and the mold of what they do, I just haven't heard enough buzz about it, although Howie does move in silence. Howie does seem to make something happen where we go, whoa, okay, I did not see that happen. Let's enter the night Jalen Hurts got drafted here. My God, I'll never forget it. I was at the time living with my girlfriend and her family. Now we have our own place and all. But at the time, I was sitting on the couch in the family room, and my mouth just dropped, hit the floor. What? Howie, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing, dude? I don't get it. And it's like you never see some things coming. And it wouldn't surprise me so much, because they love defensive ends. They love the defensive line. But I just haven't heard enough buzz in that department. Running back, though, fascinates me for free agency. A lot of big names. Do they just bring back DeAndre Swift and let it run? There's some big names out there. The Saquon Barkleys, the Pollard, the Swift. Then there's the high upside guy that gets injured a lot. The J.K. Dobbins. What could he be if he was very active and stayed on the field and wasn't getting banged up? And then you sort of have this mold of professional running backs that can flirt around that 700-yard type of vibe. And if they work that running back by committee, if you bring in one of these guys and then have someone else behind them and they work together as a tandem, we've seen it all before. And I'd imagine that if I'm projecting, it would be more of a Madison. It would be more of a Zach Moss. It'll be more of a Singletary. Sort of like those vibes. Veterans, solid, been around the block, some miles on the tires, but I don't think their ceiling's extremely high, but they can be good compared to the big splashiness. And That's what I think they do. Now, hey, I mean, I'm all on board on running it back with DeAndre Swift, letting him do something, letting him cook, really incorporating someone with his versatility and his ability to do a couple different things. Like, I would love that for sure. I know how they utilize their money. They could get a bigger name if they wait out the market, right? Like, maybe one of these guys don't get what they anticipated prior to free agency beginning in the legal tampering period and this and that. If someone believes they're getting X and they only get offered Y, and then they're hanging around a little bit, similar to what we're dealing with the Phillies. Everyone thought Montgomery and Blake Snell would be on respected teams by now, and the longer and longer things wait, it's, hey, can Dave Dombrowski pounce and snag Montgomery to the rotation? Well, hey, Saquon Barkley hasn't been, hey, this guy Pollard, hey, this guy, you know what I'm saying? So it's not out of the question, especially knowing that teams are afraid to put that many assets into the running back position. Well, good ones. There are teams that do spend a second overall pick on a running back, and then they end up realizing, well, that was a waste, because by the time we actually get back on track, that running back's going to be 5 years ran into the ground, and we're stupid. Well, that does happen. So it's not every team that is clueless in that area, but you know where money's normally allocated, and we'll see how everything plays out from the running back room. I would imagine, though, it's more of a Madison, it's more of a Moss, it's more of a Singletary, and they run it back with 3 names, and we'll see what happens there. So that's sort of my thought and my predictions as we look ahead here. Yeah, the third wide receiver is one I didn't really get to. Will they address that in free agency? I wouldn't be surprised, right? A Zacchaeus level move, a Curtis Samuel level move, that style of thing. That's what we saw them do last year with Zacchaeus. So, I'm just curious if it falls into that level. Probably, just knowing the history and how they normally operate. So those are my thoughts. I can't thank you all enough for hanging out with me here on Bleacher Report. You guys are the greatest in the world, and we'll be talking in about 10 days or so back again. Love you guys to death. Talk to you all soon.